All right. Debra, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you. And you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for asking. So, today is our second day into the studies. So, we are in the process of studying an Agile Scrum framework, and today is the second day. So, we initially started the other day by discussing the entire course program. So, if I was to quickly run through the entire course program again, I could say, okay, um, like I said, we were going to go through the software development life cycle, and we'll look at some different type of software development life cycles. And we look at the waterfall model, we look at the agile model, we look at maybe I could talk. I said I was going to briefly tell you what the DevOps model means. Then there will be other models like the lean model, the de, the lean model. There will be also you're going to hear about the V-shaped model, the spiral model. Then under agile uh, model, you're going to hear of other things like the definition of agile, the agile manifesto, the principles. Then you now go into the Scrum framework, where you look at what is the definition of Scrum, the roles, the values, pillars, artifacts, ceremonies, and Scrum events, which includes the sprint planning. Those are formal events, daily scrum, the sprint demo or sprint review, the sprint retrospective, as well as the backlog refinement session, which is an informal session. And after that, we're going to discuss some practical concepts. And that was going to deal with the tools that you use in planning, tracking, and releasing the different software development that you could be building, right? And
Yeah.
we said we were going to talk about uh, uh, maybe look at some tools like the Jira, which is one of the biggest tool out there that's being used by many organizations out there. And we're going to look at Azure DevOps, which is provided by Microsoft. We look at Trello,
So
Asana,
I don't,
Wake.
I don't, sir, a minute. I don't know if the content is being displayed on the screen because I can't find it.
Yes, no, I'm just listing this one from my mind. I haven't
Okay.
displaced it. Remember, we displaced it the other day. So for anyone maybe that is going to maybe be watching this video on YouTube or maybe on my timeline on LinkedIn, could quickly check on the next video that the previous video that we posted. But I think we didn't have it displayed. It was just an
We
audio
didn't have
version.
it displayed because of the audio version that we uploaded on YouTube.
That's fine. All right. So I'm going to briefly explain again the different stages in software development lifecycle. So irrespective of whatever software development model that they're going to be using in any project that you're going to be building, there are stages that that software project must follow. So the other day, I demonstrated how at Silver Tech Space, which can be a software consulting firm that is building software application for small businesses or big businesses, you could have, for example, Facebook that will probably come to this uh, consulting firm and say, hey, I want you to build for me a software application, right? It could be a web-based application as well as it could be a mobile-based application. And so what are going to do? So they are going to discuss about how the application is going to look like. It could be like what? Maybe a social media platform to connect the whole world. And therefore, they will come, you'll have some vendors from Silver Tech Space. These are some key vendors from Silver Tech Space that will be meet together with stakeholders from Facebook, for example, and they'll be discussing on this how this business is going to look like. And usually you'll have something I would say during this initial meeting, they are discussing, I could say, It's a planning phase of the process. So we could say this is a planning. And during this planning, the planning, it depends on the organization and it also depends on the project. So the planning, the analysis, and the requirement gathering could be one phase, could all be one phase, as
Yeah.
well as the requirement gathering and analysis, yeah, is still planning. So they are still planning for it. So it means the same thing. So that's why I would say planning, this initial phase of the meeting is going to be planning. And during this planning, what are this is discussing? They're discussing about the different tools that they're going to be using, that talking about the teams, they're talking about the different uh, cloud-based, which cloud is going to host, they're going to host the application on. They could maybe want to host the application on Azure or AWS. I would say this could be on, they could want to host the application on Azure, which is a Microsoft cloud space, or they are going to host it on AWS, which is AWS, Amazon Web Services cloud space. Or they may want to host it on GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform. So they'll finish with this meeting, and the next thing they're going to do, there's going to be some system designing. And this system design is going to be conducted, it's going to be done by the uh, the business analyst as well as the system analyst from the Silver Tech Space uh, consulting firm. So you have that. You have some business analysts and some systems analysts that will build this up. So just a second. Let me see. So I could say, let me put it on this side so that you won't. Okay. So these guys are going to sit down and design how it's going to look like. And right after that, they are going to have, so these are the system analysts and business analysts. So they'll build it up. Then after the designing phase of the application, there is going to be what they call the build stage. The build, or call it the development phase of the software development lifecycle. So you're going to have the developers, they're going to build the codes. Okay, so they're going to build the codes, the code of the application. So this is a code, call it the different type of codes that they're going to be the source codes that they will be building. And after they build this code, they are going to push the code for testing. So the code will be tested by software development uh, testers, or yeah, so the code testers are going to be the one to test it, or call it the QA guys, the quality assurance. They are same people, testers or quality assurance, that's how to call it. And after that, there's going to be some deployment. So that is the next stage. Is going to be deployment. That is the deployment phase of the application, is making up the application available for the users, end users of the application, end users or the stakeholders. So when it's been given to the stakeholders, or maybe to the end users, or maybe being deployed to the Play Store, vendors will start using it. And right after that, there could be some breakage or some few things that they will now come together. They could be like, okay, if there are some things that I need to fix, then you have the maintenance or the enhancement phase of the application. So that is how the software development lifecycle looks like. And I could show you how we could check that out. So I could say software development life cycle. Could do this. Yeah, you could have some interesting images around this. I could pull this one of this up. Okay, just a second. I could say this one. Nope. Yeah, so let me pull up this one. So those are the different stages that I just showed you. And I could say this one. So like I just explained to you, there's gonna be some situations where you'll see it may have more stages than what I just showed you, but it's the same. It's the same. Those stages are always the same. You may see some other organization they may have um, 8 stages. Some may have 6 stages, but it all depends on the project. It depends on organizational culture, but
Okay.
understand that it's still the same.
Some are just what I think the others are what's changing in words and how they
Yeah,
place it.
yeah, just a second. Yeah, it's just the way any organization would decide to fit it anyhow they want to fit it.
Okay.
So, can you see this? Good. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have something like this. So like I said, you are going to have all these stages. You see, this is requirement gathering or requirement collection and analysis. In some cases, some organizations will decide to have both of this to be one, but it shouldn't change what you understand by the different
Yeah. Yeah.
stages. So you have requirement gathering, then you have analysis or requirement gathering and analysis, then you have the design, system designing, you have the coding, which is called the build stage or maybe the
Or
development
the
stage.
development stage.
You have the testing and maintenance.
After the testing, I can't find here the deployment, but I understand that before maintenance deployment.
Yeah, obviously. All right. So that's what I'm going to let you see. All right. So today we are going to go to the next step after that. So the next thing we were going to discuss about is type of software development life cycles. So I'm going to say I will discuss about types of software development life cycle. So under the types of software development life cycle, you are going to have multiple type of software development life cycle. I'm going to show you here right now. And we understand that we are studying an Agile Scrum framework. So, but we'll come to that as we move on. So on this type of software development lifecycle, there are so many types of software development lifecycle. Beginning with, you're going to hear of the waterfall model. The first one is, I would say, the waterfall model. So you hear of the waterfall model, and I'll explain that to you later. And after the waterfall model, you will hear of the agile model. So you hear of the agile model. This is another type of software development lifecycle, and this is the second one. Just a second. This is 2. And after this one, you will hear of, let me see, number 3. You hear of DevOps. DevOps. You can hear of DevOps. Or let's say the lean model, lean model. And you can also hear of the DevOps. And you can also hear of the V-shape software development lifecycle. And you can also hear of the spiral model. So like I said, you hear of the V-shape model, you hear of the spiral model. Just let me take off, I want to take off this number so that it will be clearer. So you hear of the waterfall model, the spiral model, this V-shape model, and all of this. You're going to hear about all of this. Those are the different type of software development models that you will hear out there. All right, so and there's also another one. It's called is it a big model or something like that? You hear about that sometimes. Also, people will talk about that. You see that sometimes as you try to look into type of software development models. All right. Now, I want to quickly just begin. We're going to begin with the first one. So this one is just a list. I just listed this one type of software development model. So you hear about all this type of model, talk about waterfall model, agile model, lean model, DevOps, and V-shaped model. So um, other than that, the next thing we're going to be looking at is the waterfall model in the software development lifecycle. So with the waterfall model of software development lifecycle, usually when that client comes in, and maybe when that client comes in and talk to maybe the consulting organization, call it Silver Tech Space, right? This is a consulting organization, Silver Tech Space, and this is a client. Call it a client from Facebook, for instance. Usually, when they come together, he is coming to meet Silver Tech Space. Say, hey, Silver Tech Space, I want you to build for me a social media platform to connect the whole world. So, what is happening is when they come in during the planning meeting, they'll come in during the planning meeting, which is the planning and requirement gathering meeting. They will discuss all these things together. I think we can use this one. So they'll come together, sit, have that conversation, discuss the different requirements in this meeting, requirement gathering meeting. And after that, so what is happening is they would discuss all of this during that phase. And when they are doing that discussion, the system designers would be waiting, right? During these meetings, the system designers are just sitting. So I would say, now this is the requirement gathering meeting. So during this meeting, the system designers are sitting, they are doing nothing, they're just waiting. The software developers are also just sitting. I mean, the engineers, the building engineers, they're just sitting, they're waiting, they're doing nothing. As well as the testers, the QA guys, they're also sitting, they're doing nothing. So they'll wait for the entire stage to get completed before they move on to the next stage. So if that is the case, then you will have a situation where they will complete the entire requirement gathering stage before they will now move on to the next stage, which is going to be the system designing phase. And during the requirement gathering phase, they will discuss everything. They will discuss the budget, the timelines, and everything that is going to happen. So they could have all the stages. I would say, let me use this. They'll have all the stages discussed. They'll do the requirement gathering stage. And after that, they will do a system designing phase completely. And right after that, they will do before they will now move to the build stage, which is the development phase. And after that, they will now move to the testing phase. And right after that, they'll go to the deployment phase. And after that, they will now go to the maintenance phase, which is the last stage. This is what is going to happen in that stage in the waterfall model. And you can see that all of that during this process, in each of the stages, these guys are all waiting. But the bad thing is when they are doing all of this, there is like they will build it, you know, build it, like do the discussions, finish, do all the planning. The next phase, they will now go to the system designing phase, and after that, they're doing one stage after the other. All right, that's basically what I mean. They're doing one stage right after they're doing one stage and gets completed with the phase before they move on to the next phase. So now, when this is happening, what is going to happen is the staging, the testing phase, they're going to be doing the testing maybe in the end and all of that, and maybe if something goes wrong in the testing and all of that, or whatever. But that is, I'm just want to know that in this process of waterfall model, they are doing one stage after the other. So this will be the waterfall model of software development lifecycle. And they call it a waterfall because it is going, if you see the alignment is aligning like in a direction, right? In like you see how it aligns like one stage after the other. That is it. So that's why they call it the waterfall model. One stage is completed before the other, just like that. So you have this, and you have that. So the waterfall model of software development lifecycle will look up like something like this. And the name is derived from how you see the structure presented to you like this. So you're going to have all of that. Each of these phases completed one after the other. I could delete this and then I could copy each of these phases. You're going to have requirement gathering and planning on its own. You're going to have this phase completed before the system design comes in. System design. Then you're going to have the build stage. Let me see this. I think I should just do this. So this is a build. We'll call it a development stage. We'll call it a coding. And you can have that as well. Then there's going to be testing. Testing by the QA guys. And you can have the okay. So I'm going to do this. You're going to have deployment. And you can have maintenance. So this is what happened with waterfall model. All right. So what is the good thing about this type of software development lifecycle? So the good thing about this type of software development lifecycle is that you you are going to have one stage that is being completed after the other. So I could take this. So I could say the advantages of this type of software development lifecycle is that one thing is going to be completed after the other. So This is the advantages. So you see, advantages that one stage is completed at a time. So you'll have one stage completed at a time, because everything will be well planned out completely before before the next stage can take place. All right, one phase is complete at a time, or one stage is complete at a time. Now, another thing is there is little, like, customers, I mean, or end users do not sometimes interrupt the phase, right? So end users do not interrupt the phase. Like, I understand it's an advantage to have end users giving in their own input as it's being built, but one thing is, because sometimes customers do not know what they want, so that'll be, so if they don't, in this case, if customers maybe sometimes do not know what they want, so you'll see how we may prefer to say, okay, if customers or end user are not in the process, it may be a little bit more of a maybe advantage, right, to the end users. But some other thing, just one second. Let me come here. I could pull this up to make it easier. Right. So, okay. So I was saying that in this process, there are some advantages about it. And I said the first advantage is that the process is such that one step is being completed one step after the other, right? One stage is being completed one after the other. Then key points are well defined. When you talk about key points being well defined, they mean, like, the when we talk about key point being well defined, we're talking about the timeline, the budget, right? Any resource, all the resources will be well spread out. All resources will be well spread out before in the process. So key points are well defined, and they are also easy to be defined because they want to do, they are doing one stage after the other. Then all priorities efforts, right, will be well defined as well. All priority efforts will be well defined. So they've been setting up priority effort that's including uh, the resources that they're going to be using. They're all set up completely in the process by this process. Then it is easy to plan the budget, the time, and all of that. So those are the advantages. Just the kind of advantages of that kind of model. But now it also has its downsides. All right, it has disadvantages. So I would say some of the disadvantages of this software development, of disadvantages of waterfall model, right? So disadvantages of waterfall model. So we want to look at the disadvantages of waterfall model. Disadvantages of waterfall model. All right. So the disadvantages of waterfall model. One of the primary disadvantages of waterfall model is that the uh, it is not suitable for complex or long projects. Okay, it is not suitable for projects that are complex and long. Okay, so if you use this model, because you are going to do, it's going to require the planning for you to do it all the stages before, I mean, to do one stage at a time, it's going to be really complex. It's going to be more complex, and so it is not suitable for this type of project. Any project, software development project that is complex, it is long, right? It is not suitable for it because it's going to be difficult to complete the whole one stage before you move on to the next one. And then with this type of model, there is little or no customers input. So there's little or no customer input. There is little or no customer input. That's end users. Then there's also low collaboration among team members. Low collaboration among team members. Team members are not working together. They're working individually in their local spaces or in a silo. Little or no collaboration among team members. Next, there is, you know, it is difficult for that type of model to beat competition, right? It's going to be difficult for that type of model to overcome or beat competition because if they are taking one stage at a time, then it will be difficult to say they can complete a project. They can be able to complete the project and meet up with competition, with a high demand in competition in the market. All right, so it's pretty difficult. And then there's also high risk and uncertainty. High risk and uncertainty because during the building of the project, they may have investors may have invested like a huge sum of money into this project, like millions of dollars. So you have investors investing millions of dollars into the project, and they build the software like right up to the end, just to find out that maybe in the end, if they want to do testing and they find out that something is broken that was supposed to have maybe been taken care of far before the project starts, but it ends up that there is that they cannot fix it, right? Because of too much bugs and defects, so they cannot fix it. So that's why it becomes very complicated and very complex for that organization to get that fixed. So that is why we say there's high risk and uncertainty in that type of project, in that type of model. And there is also high resource wastage because remember, when they are doing the planning and requirement meeting, the designers, the developers, and the testers, they are all sitting. They're all waiting for once that stage, for those who are involved in that particular stage, to complete their work, before the next set of result, those systems. I mean, those the next set of team members can take on to the next and take on with the work on the next stage, right? So there's wastage of resources and all of that. So that is why team team members or maybe software developers as well as software stakeholders started thinking on how to change from that model and look for a lot of maybe any other model that is more adaptive and more productive than the waterfall model. So before we go on to the next one, which is the agile model, I will briefly explain these other few models before we move to the agile model. So with the lean model, it's similar to agile model. It's similar with agile model, but the only difference between the lean model and the agile model is that the lean model try to eliminate waste. So I'll come back to this later when we'll be discussing about the agile model. You're going to see what the agile model is all about. Then we'll come and see, you'll see how the lean model is different from the agile model. So with the lean model, the only difference between lean and agile model is that the lean model is trying to eliminate waste. Lean model is similar to the agile model, but different in that it tries to eliminate waste. So, so the difference is that it tries to eliminate waste. Okay, so that's it. And the only one little quick um the the waste that is trying to eliminate is is the time, the a lot of meetings that the agile model is having. That is one of the things that it tries to reduce, let's say reduce waste. So one of the key thing that is trying to eliminate or to reduce is the number of meetings that are in agile. So the lean model is doing practically almost everything like agile, but it tries to eliminate the number of meetings that existing in agile. When we go to agile, you're going to see the amount of meetings that are in agile. Then the development model, the DevOps model, the DevOps model of software development lifecycle is that the development team is trying to work in collaboration with their operation team. That is the main thing. Although they'll follow those same stages in the software development lifecycle, but they are not completing one stage after the other. But the key thing about the DevOps software development lifecycle is that the operation team is working together, is working in collaboration with the development team. So you have, let's say, if this is the development team, they will work in collaboration with the operation team. The two teams working in collaboration. And this was happening because in the past, they have been working separately. All right. In the past, they have been working separately, but there was a problem. There was a serious problem between that development team and the operation team. So I would say this is the DevOps model. So with DevOps, so it comes from the word development and operation. So this is the development team. So this is the development team, and this other team is the operation team. Oh, copy this and paste this here. That makes sense, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is the operation team and this is the development team. So what happened in the past? The way they were working was they were first of all working separately, which means that what was happening was each time a developer builds up a code and the code is being tested, the code is working, and maybe they send it to operation, and the operation takes the code and they are trying to get the code deployed. It's not working. The code is not working. And this was because of maybe sometimes because of the environment, or maybe sometimes because of the misunderstanding of the requirement to get the to test the code or to get the code working, all of that. So it's not working. So this guy will push back the code to the developers and say, hey, uh, John, or maybe, you know, uh, or Sam, this code is not working. And this developer will be like, no, the code is working. I sent my code to you and it was working. I tested the code as a QA guys, it was working. And before I sent it to you, I tested in my local environment, it was working. I don't know why you're saying it's not working. You probably have messed up my code and you're now telling me the code is not working. I'm not going to fix this code, right? A lot of a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of arguments, and all of that. So, but now those type of problem was existing for quite some time. But now engineers they were like, okay, now how do we solve this problem? So they decided, okay, now we are going to start working together. We're going to work in collaboration, right? So it means that why these developers are building the codes, the testing is going to be maybe the testing is being done. They are they're doing the code and then the testers are also testing it. The operation guys are also maybe like they'll build like a whole pipeline, right, to have like a whole CI/CD pipeline where they'll do the build. The build is maybe automated and it goes for testing and it is automated, and then the testing, once the testing is completed, then it goes to deployment automatically. Maybe through a continuous integration or continuous development process. So which is called the CI/CD process. So there's continuous development, there's continuous integration, and then there's continuous deployment. So that is how they've been working together in that kind of in that kind of software development lifecycle model, and it was working. That's what they call the DevOps model. I'm not going to dwell more into this. I just wanted to explain just briefly about that. What is we are interested in is the Agile model. So with the Agile model, uh, how did the Agile model come about? So we want to look at the origin of Agile. So we want to look at the origin of Agile. Origin of Agile model. The origin of Agile software development model. So I want to look at how did it come about. So remember we talked about the waterfall model, right? And remember we discussed the downside of it, no customer collaboration, a lot of high risk involved, and there's also competition that uh, the waterfall model could not stand the competition. So, and a lot of projects were canceled because of high bugs and all of that. Okay. And there was also no collaboration among team members. Team members were working by themselves. Sometimes they would run into roadblocks. They didn't know how to get them fixed and all of that. All those downsides of uh, waterfall model. Those are some of the things that, like in back in the 90s, right? In the 90s, those are that is what happened back in the 1900s. All right. So that is why I mean the 1990s. Yeah. So that's what was happening, and many projects were failing, many projects were being cancelled, a lot of projects were being they lost a lot of money and they couldn't meet up all of that. So that is why uh, engineers back started thinking on how are we going to do to solve these problems. Okay, they started thinking of how are we going to do to solve these problems. So what happened was, now back in 2017, experts met and started discussing the idea of some different ways to to build to build software using a different model that is going to solve all these problems. And these were industrial experts. So these 17 industrial experts met in 17 industrial experts from the industry, right? Experts from the industry met and started discussing about the idea around Agile. They started discussing that the idea around Agile. So they when they had that discussion and they started coming up with those different models and started discussing on how they could solve this problem, these industrial issues. I mean, these issues that they're facing, the software market, that they're having projects failing and all of that. So they came up with what was called the Agile manifesto by 2001. The Agile Manifesto was born. So the Agile Manifesto was born based on this different conversation that they started having because of the problem that the software development industry was facing. The Agile Manifesto was born in 2001. So the Agile Manifesto was born. So when this Agile Manifesto was born, what were what was actually the Agile Manifesto talking about? But before we talk about the Agile Manifesto, what was there for? What is there for? Because I just wanted you to understand that the Agile Manifesto was born. Then in this Agile Manifesto, all right, there are some interesting things that you're going to see about it. But now it is from this Agile Manifesto that was born that the definition of Agile was derived from. So someone will ask you, what is Agile therefore? So they'll ask you, what is Agile? Some people say, someone will say Agile is a philosophy. All right, someone will say Agile is a philosophy. Let me see this. Someone will say Agile is a philosophy. And some other person will tell you that Agile is principles. It's a set of practices or principles. Or some, yeah, set of practices and practices, a set of practices. And someone will tell you that Agile is a set of values. It's a set of values. And someone will also say Agile is methods. It's a set of methods. All right. You ask people out there, organizational experts or professionals, they'll tell you this. They will still be telling you these things that we are discussing here right now. So some other people will say it's a set of methods. But the good news about this is that all of this are all correct. All these options that they're talking about are all correct. That's the good news about it. So you see, right? So you thought I was going to be like, no, this one is not correct, this one is correct. But the good news is that all of this, if you ask someone what is Agile, it says a set of practices, a set of values, and all of that. The good news is that they are all correct. So, what is there for the definition of Agile? The definition of Agile is the set of methods and practices. All right, it's a set of methods, practices, and principles that are all enshrined in the Agile Manifesto. Oh, sorry about that. Yep. So that is the definition of Agile. Agile is simply the set of, just 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so Agile is kind of an umbrella term, right? It's an umbrella term for all those methods and those best practices that are based on the values and principles that are defined in the Agile Manifesto. That is a full definition of Agile. And We are going to stop here in a second, just in a few minutes, just in maybe one or 2 minutes, we will stop to continue the lessons some other time. So I will write out the definition of Agile, then we will stop and we will continue some other time. For those who are going to see this video maybe online on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe and also reach out in the comment section of this video and maybe ask questions, as well as you can join our YouTube community or maybe our WhatsApp community through our WhatsApp page. Our WhatsApp page link is connected to this channel. Go to the about section of this YouTube channel and you can be able to connect to our WhatsApp group where we share interesting information, artificial intelligence information, as well as machine learning, DevOps engineering, software engineering, as well as any tech related knowledge that you may want to find out there. They are all found in this space, guys. So Agile is an umbrella term for all the methods, for all the methods and best practices, right? Best practices that are based on the values and principles values and principles. Yep, I'll be right there, guys. Just in a second. Values and principles that are defined in the Agile Manifesto. Values and principles defined in the Agile Manifesto. So this is the definition of Agile, and so we will see what is the Agile Manifesto in our next lesson. And so should someone want to maybe know what is the Agile Manifesto, or going forward from this lesson, you may want to subscribe, guys. All right. So before we end the session, do you have any question for us, uh, guys?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your presentation. It's awesome. I really do appreciate. Key points well noted. But I wanted to ask, in at the level of DevOps, you said development and operators. Is that
On operation.
operation?
Yep.
Uh, can you briefly explain to me what or the word operation means there?
Operation are those who are involved, who are working in the production, those who do the deployment, who releases the software.
Okay.
Yeah, to place to whether Play Store or any environment that they want to release the software on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right, we'll end here and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
No
Thank you.
problem. Bye.